So now we are starting polity with our first chapter, historical background. In the historical background, we will read how our constitution evolved. First of all, a general brief. In 1600 AD, East India Company was given the exclusive rights to trade with India by Queen Elizabeth. Therefore, they created a sense of monopoly. Now, when the in the 1600 AD, East India Company was given the exclusive right. After that, we all are aware in the history that Battle of Buxar took place, and after that, in the 1765, East India Company got the Diwani rights. Diwani means revenue rights, to collect the revenue. Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. And our constitution was formed. Constituent Assembly was convened to form the constitution in 1946, and ultimately our constitution was adopted on 26 Jan 1950. Just a brief. Now, there are various acts through which our constitution was our constitution was taking taking a shape. First of all, Regulating Act, 1773. Act, Governor of Bengal was made Governor General of Bengal. Earlier, what used to happen in India, there were three provinces. This was the Madras province, this was the Bombay province, and this was the Calcutta province. So, this area, the governor, these three were separate governors of separate provinces. Governor of Bengal was made the Governor General of Bengal. And who was the first Governor General of Bengal? Warren Hastings. First Governor General, Warren Hastings. Now you have to remember these provisions of these acts because they come in the directly provisions come in the exam, so you have to remember. So designation of the Governor of Bengal was changed and he was now onwards called the Governor General of Bengal, not India. Who was the first Governor General of Bengal? Warren Hastings. A Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta. Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta. It consists of one Chief Justice plus three other judges. One Chief Justice and three other judges. Third, Court of Directors now had to report. What are the Court of Directors? East India Company. It's a company. Company has the directors. So there were directors of the companies who owned the company. So directors set up a body which is called the Court of Directors. Now this Regulating Act 1773, it has made a provision that Court of Directors has to report all the administration regarding the civil, military and revenue to the British. Now they have to report all these to British. Fourth point. 4-member executive council was created to assist the Governor General. And the company servants were debarred from taking any gifts from the natives. Therefore, these are the main provisions of the Regulating Act 1773, and you have to remember. How to remember? Just we start from the Bengal. Governor of Bengal was made Governor General of Bengal. Then Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta, which consisted of 1 Chief Justice and 3 other judges. Civil, military and revenue affairs of India have to be reported to British by the Court of Directors. 4-member executive council was set up, therefore 1 Governor General of Bengal plus 4 persons. Executive council means they have to execute the decisions, and they were tasked also for making laws. Therefore, it is the body which was making laws simultaneously. It was executing also. There was no difference between the legislative and executive part at that time, at 1773. Therefore, these 4 persons were created for this to assist Governor General of Bengal. And then natives were debarred from accepting any gift. And one more point, that Governor of Bengal was made Governor General of Bengal. Therefore, the governors of Bombay and Madras presidencies were made subordinate to the Governor of Bengal. Therefore, you have to remember all these points for this Regulating Act 1773. Next act is Pitt's India Act 1784. Till now, what was going on? Company was managing its commercial affairs also, simultaneously political affairs also. So this act differentiated between the commercial aspects and political aspects. Then commercial aspects. Who will handle the commercial aspects? Court of Directors. And to handle the political affairs, they created a new body which was called Board of Control. Thus, they established a system of dual government. Question comes in this form: in which act system of dual government came into place? Answer is Pitt's India Act 1784. And then also, in this act, Board of Control has to report all the civil, military and revenue affairs of the British possessions in India. British possessions, for the first time they used the term British possessions in India. So next act is Charter Act 1833. Next, Charter Act 1833. Here, Governor General of Bengal was designated as Governor General of India. Now he commanded all the three, entire India. Governor General of Bengal was made now Governor General of India. And who was the first person who was made the Governor General of India? William Bentinck. Also, the legislative, earlier what used to happen, the Governor of Bengal made legislation in its area, Governor of Bombay made legislation in its area which is applicable to this province, Governor of Madras made legislation in its area which is applicable to this area. Now legislative power of the Governor of Bombay and Governor of Madras was snatched away and entire legislation power was given to the Governor General of India. And the company, East India Company, now became purely an administrative body. Its role was limited only for administration. Civil services were tried. There was an attempt in this act to throw open the civil services, covenanted civil services means higher civil services to all the Indians, but the court of director negated this proposal. So therefore, the civil services could not have been opened for Indians. Attempt to open civil services for all. But court of director objected. Now Charter Act 1853. As I told you, the functions, court of director, the East India Company means the Governor General and the people, Governor General and the four councillors which were there to assist the Governor General, which was the provision in the Regulating Act 1773. Now they combined the function of executive and legislative, means they also made the laws and they were also the responsible for the execution of laws. So therefore, in this act, functions were executive and legislative functions were separated. Thus, 6 more members called as legislative councillors were added. So therefore total 6 plus 4, 10. These 6 persons were involved in making law making and these 4 persons along with Governor General were involved in execution of the laws. Thus there is a formation of 6 legislative councillors, 6 members were added. And earlier I told you in the Charter Act 1833, the Court of Director objected to throw open all the civil servants, civil services examination services to Indians, but in this act, civil services were thrown open to Indians also. And there is a regional representation in the council. How? Out of these six, four were appointed by the governors of Madras, Bombay, Calcutta, and Agra. So these four governors each one gave their appointment in this central legislative council. So thus regional representation started in the central council. So next act is Act of Good Governance in India, or next act is Government of India Act 1858. Government of India Act 1858. As we know, system of dual government was created. Court of Director was there for the commercial purpose and Board of Control was set up for the political affairs. This system of dual government was abolished by this act, Government of India Act 1858. Instead, what was the mechanism? Secretary of State. Post of Secretary of State was created in London, not in India. In London, there was Secretary of State who was the member of the British Cabinet. British Parliament, British Cabinet, member of that British Cabinet was there, which was called Secretary of State. And there were 15 members to assist the Secretary of State in London. These 15 members were called as Council of India. Thus, system of dual government abolished, and instead Secretary of State came into place, which is assisted by 15 members, which is called as Council of India. And one more thing, India was now governed as in the name of Her Majesty. Means directly Queen is ruling. And the Governor General of India was now called as Viceroy. So what is the evolution? Governor General of Bengal, from the Governor General of Bengal it became the Governor General of India, and now the Governor General of India now is called as Viceroy of India in the 1858 Act. And who is the first Viceroy? Lord Canning. You have to remember all the sequence. Regulating Act 1773, Governor General of Bengal. Who is the first Governor General of Bengal? Warren Hastings. Charter Act 1833, Governor General of India. Who is the Governor General of India? William Bentinck. Government of India Act 1858. Who is the first Viceroy? Lord Canning. So now we discuss the next act. Indian Councils Act 1861. What used to happen? There was Governor General and members, which is called as Council. Some members were for law making, Legislative Council, and some other members were also there, which is a part of this broad system, which is also called as Executive Council. Can you imagine, just it is like our parliament. There are some ministers which are doing the executive functions, and overall they are part of the parliament, Lok Sabha, which also has the legislators. Now, consider this many type of parliament. So what happens? The Council Act 1861, what it did? it tried to make the representation of Indians in the law making process. Therefore, three persons in the legislative councils were appointed, nominated. Who were the three persons? Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao. Also, what it did, it restored the power which was taken away from the Bombay and Madras to legislate, to make legislation. Therefore, it is a kind of decentralization process. Overall, earlier the power was centralized to the Viceroy of India. Now it decentralized power. It gave power to the Bombay and Madras so that they can make their own laws. Separate legislative councils were created for Northwest Frontier Province, Bengal, and Punjab. Means they are a kind of Vidhan Sabhas, legislative assembly of states. So for the provinces, there were establishment of legislative councils. Indian legislative council is there, but the legislative council for the provinces were made, and then portfolio system was introduced. Portfolio system means one person responsible for law, just like our law minister, home minister, one person responsible for finance, one person responsible for defense, defense minister. So portfolio system was introduced, and ordinance making power was given to viceroy. So we will be discussing now the next act, Councils Act 1892. We have seen that three people were incorporated as law-making members in the Governor General Council, Legislative Council. So how the three were being appointed here? They were designated as non-official members. Non-official means there were two types of persons in this, official and non-official. Official persons were those which were considered as the government servant, and non-official were those which are not considered as the government servant. So non-official members were being nominated. So non-official members were there and official members were also there. Thus, this Council Act 1892 increased the proportion of non-official persons in this overall system. Means more non-official persons were there now. But still, official persons had the majority. Still, the official persons were more than the non-official persons. Therefore, in all the councils, in the Central Council of India and also in the provincial councils, means the councils of the provinces, just like Vidhan Sabha. So, increase in non-official number in central and provincial councils. and the persons here were given more freedom. They can now discuss the budget also. Next act we are going to study is the Morley-Minto reforms. So last we are discussing Morley-Minto reforms, which is also the last in the series of Councils Act. Council Act 1909, also known as Morley-Minto reforms. As I have told you, there is non-official persons and there are official persons. So what this act did in the central, it first of all it increased the membership from the 16 to 60 in the Central Legislative Council. In the Central Council. Now, what they did, but in the Central Council, still they retained the official majority. But in the provincial councils, the councils of the provinces, there were majority of non-officials. So therefore, non-official majority in provincial councils. Next thing. This is all about the legislation, but now what about the Executive Council, Governor General Executive Council? For the first time, an Indian was appointed in the Executive Council of the Governor General, Viceroy. Who is the first Indian? Satyendra Prasad Sinha. Then what is the next provision? Concept of separate electorates for the Muslims was put forward. What is this? This is an area where one Muslim, one other religion, one Muslim, like this Muslim people live, other religion people also live, and one person is standing from this constituency for the election. He must be first of all Muslim, and not all persons can vote for the Muslim. Only the Muslim member will vote for him. This is separate electorates. Concept of separate electorates. Only Muslim persons will vote for a Muslim. Concept of separate electorates. Therefore, separate electorates for Muslim. Therefore, Minto, who was the Viceroy of India at that time, he is known as father of communal representation in India. Another point, supplementary question now could be asked. In the Council Act 1892, we discussed that they can discuss the budget. Now they can also ask the supplementary questions. Council from the ministers. That is Executive Council. And they can move resolutions also. These were the main provisions of the Council Act 1909, also called as Monte-Merlo reforms. Now, Morlemento reforms. Now, the next, Government of India Act 1919. Main provisions is also called as Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Main provisions, it introduced the concept of subjects, provincial subjects and central subjects. Just like our 7th schedule list the subjects, on which subjects central government can make the law, central list, on which subjects state government can make the law, state list, on which subjects both can make the laws, but ultimately state laws have to be consistent with the central laws, that is concurrent list. So now two subjects were created, provincial subjects and central subjects, by the Government of India Act 1919. On the central subjects, entirely union government has the authority to make laws. On the provincial subjects, provinces of that time have the authority to make the laws. Now, in the provincial subjects were also divided into the two categories. Reserved. Out of some provincial subjects, some subjects were reserved and some were entirely transferred. The reserved subjects, Viceroy plus ministers, they will make the laws, they will do, but they are not responsible to the legislature. They are not bound to give the answers to the legislature on these subjects. In the transferred subjects, Viceroys plus minister, they make the laws and they are answerable for their actions with respect to transferable subjects, accountable in legislature. So this system of creating reserved and transfer within any subject, this is called diarchy. So in which act the principle of diarchy was first established? In the Government of India in 1990. And in which subjects? Provincial subjects. Office of High Commissioner for India was established in London. Central Public Service Commission was also established to recruit civil servants. Main aspect, India Legislative Council means this provision. This was abolished. Instead, bicameralism, concept of bicameralism came into place. Bicameralism. What is bicameralism? Bi means two. Two houses. Therefore, instead of one houses, two houses were created. Upper house and lower house. Upper house was called Council of States, just like Rajya Sabha. Lower house was called Legislative Assembly, just like Lok Sabha. And Executive Council of Viceroy was increased and its membership was increased to 6. Out of the 6, 3 should be Indians. So therefore, in the executive functions, more Indians were being incorporated. And there was now the separation of provincial and central budgets. Earlier the budget was mixed for the whole of British India. Now the budget were divided into the central part and budget for the provinces. As we have seen in the Morley Minto reform, separate electorates for Muslim were there. Now this act expanded the scope of separate electorates, and also now the separate electorates for Sikhs, Christians, Anglo-Indians, and Europeans came into place. These were the main provision of the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, also known as Government of India Act 1919. Now we will discuss Government of India Act 1935. All India Federation was created, which consists of princely states plus provinces. But since princely states did not join, so therefore All India Federation was not formed. Earlier in the we have seen that there were the two subjects, provincial subjects and transferred subject, central subjects. Now 3 subjects were created. Federal subjects, just like for central government, provincial subjects for provinces, and concurrent subject, like our present arrangement. Concurrent subject. And the residuary powers have been given to the Viceroy. Residuary powers to Viceroy means, let's say I have written something on this subject. Let's say federal subject is defense. Let's say provincial subject is agriculture. Let's say concurrent subject is education. Other subject, let's say nanotechnology, which I have not thought, but in the future it comes. Then who is empowered to legislate on that subject? Viceroy. This is called residuary powers. This is given to Viceroy. We have seen that from the Muslims to Sikhs, Christians, the separate electorates were extended. Now the separate electorates were extended also for the depressed classes, that is scheduled class, caste, women, and labor. Federal Public Service Commission was established to recruit civil servants, and provincial public service commissions were also established at the level of provinces to recruit civil servants. And there was also the provision of joint public service commission for 2 or more provinces. Federal court is established and remember the Council of India, which used to assess the Secretary of State, 15-member Council of India. It was abolished. Council of India was abolished. It was abolished. Federal Code. And most important feature, diarchy at center. as we have seen in the previous act, Government of India Act 1919, diarchy was there in the provincial subjects. Now, from the provincial subject, diarchy is removed, and in the central subjects, diarchy is there. So they shifted the diarchy from provincial to central subjects. And also, 6 out of 11 provinces were made bicameral. So at the province level also, just like Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Council, Vidhan Parishad, they were made bicameral. These were the main feature of Government of India Act 1935, and at last Indian Independence Act 1947. So India got, by this act, India got independence, and India was divided into two parts, India and Pakistan, into two dominions. India and Pakistan. Each dominion would be headed by Governor General. Lord Mountbatten became our first Governor General of independent India. And these India and Pakistan dominions were given freedom to secede from the Commonwealth of Nations. Office of Viceroy was established, abolished. Office of Secretary of State was abolished, and also the princely states. They were given the option either to join India, join Pakistan, or remain independent. This was all about the evolution, historical background and the evolution of Indian Constitution. Thank you.